everyone. Today I sat down with Alexandria Lawson. She is a homeschool mom to six, a business owner, and also a homeschooling influencer over on Instagram. We talked all about her content, her homeschool coaching, and just how she navigates being a business owner and a homeschool mom. Absolutely love this conversation. She had so many little tips and tricks for homeschool parents, and I hope you guys take a lot away from it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really am very excited to talk to you, especially since we've talked before and got to chat on the phone, but it's great to see you face to face. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm Alexandria Lawson. I am a mother of six kids from ages 2 all the way up to 16. I am married to my husband. He does commercial HVAC, so he is now the breadwinner, and I stay home with our kids, homeschooling them, teaching them about life and everything in between. Before this, though, I did work full time. I feel like I have had a very eclectic background with my educational journey with my kids. And just in life, like I've moved around a lot. I went to
Mm-hmm.
12 different schools, 4 different high schools. So I feel like that gave me a bit of
Yeah.
experience in what I thought my kids' education would look like. And then also, because I've been other places and lived in other states, just understanding how people work, what life is like,
Yeah.
that has been really interesting. So I always say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but
I love that.
it's been really fun. And currently we live on 4 acres. We kind of do the little homestead thing.
Awesome.
We've got goats and chickens. I've
Oh,
had bees
love it.
and, obviously a garden. So the
That's
whole
great. So how did you fall into homeschooling? Was it kind of a natural thing, or were your kids public schooled at any point?
Yeah, I would not say it was a natural thing. So let's backtrack. So originally I was working full time. I actually had finally gotten my dream job. I had been in security for a while. So some background on me is I wasn't one of those people that knew what I wanted to do right out of school. I just knew I didn't want to do more school because I knew I didn't want to go into
Yeah.
debt. And that
Yeah.
really did not appeal to me. But I grew up, I'm 36 and all of my peers were like, well, we just go to school and we'll figure it out when we get there what we want to do. And I was like, how are we
Yeah.
wasting money with money
Yeah.
we don't have when we don't know what we want to do? So I immediately went into working, but I had my daughter really young. So I was married once and had one child. And because I had her at 19, I was like, oh, I really need to work now. So I spent a lot of time working as a single parent, working,
Yeah.
multiple jobs sometimes just to try and get ahead. But it taught me a
Yeah.
lot. And I realized I was really good at security. So I really wanted a job with the federal government, which I did
Mhm.
eventually get. So I'll fast forward now, I get my job with the federal government. I'm 3 kids deep, remarried, and my kids have gone to a public school and they're now in a charter school.
Mhm.
And they've kind of actually gone to 3 different schools because we went to one school, we moved, and so we were zoned for another, went to that school, moved, and then we went to charter. So that was where they started their education. And for probably a good year, they begged to be homeschooled. And part
Wow.
of it was the fact that there was a lot of bullying. Mind you, my
Mhm.
oldest at that time was only in the 3rd grade, so I thought it was a bit outrageous that I was
Yeah.
such high level issues within the school. Now, thankfully, they knew I was a super hands-on parent, so they weren't kind
Mhm.
of blowing me off. They were trying to work with me, but you can't control everything. Now,
That's
at
right.
the time, we were living in Vegas, so that does play a little bit into the demographic, maybe, if you have an idea of like what that would have been like. But
Yeah.
I was in security with the clearance, so I'm a very like straight shooter type of person.
Yeah.
And so my kids, you know, they just were lumped in with everybody with all types of
Mhm.
home life and all things going on. And at that time, we were going to a church, and a lot of the families there homeschooled. And I'd never heard of
Wow.
homeschool except for a little bit when I was in
Mhm.
high school. And I was like, that seems like weird. That was my initial. I was like, I
Mhm.
don't want them to be like awkward or something. But I was looking at these kids, and they all seemed relatively normal, very
Yeah.
smart. But I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not giving up my dream job to do this. So initially, I said no. To be quite
Mm.
frank, the Lord like sat me down and was like, you are going to homeschool. And I was like,
Yeah.
I said, why would I give up this job? I'm making 6 figures. I finally have everything that I want. I'm
Yeah.
that like woman in her career, like big
Mhm. Mhm.
milestone at this point.
Yeah.
And the Lord was like, no. And so I probably didn't even make it a year at that job. And I
Wow.
started homeschooling once the girls finished um, their end of the school year. So back like basically like May, June. And
Yeah.
I said, all right, well, I'm going to start in the summer in case this doesn't work because I also am not big on like jumping into things. I'd never had
Yeah.
anyone in my family to show me what homeschool looks like. And so I
Mhm.
said, okay, like, how do I do this? So I initially went to all the homeschool moms around me, and that kind of sucked, to be honest. Like, they were all using
Yeah.
completely different curriculums. All of them, like, were
Yeah.
all across the board on like how expensive they were, from like
Mhm.
maybe like a few $100s to like thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
I didn't
Mhm.
even
Yeah.
understand like what is a co-op. Didn't even know what that was when I started. Was like, oh, there's like a group of people that get together with their other homeschool kids, and maybe they
Mhm.
think activities together or learn together, and there might be a tutor or
Yeah.
not. I literally started from scratch. So initially I got a little bit overwhelmed and I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had this really awesome homeschool mom. Her name is Sarah Hosey. She, in fact, she writes children's books now, and she's
Awesome.
so sweet. But she showed me what she was using, and so I started using Easy Peasy All-in-One
Mhm.
Homeschool. It is a
Mhm.
free online-based curriculum. You can buy the workbooks through their Amazon storefront, or you can just print literally all of the worksheets out at home, which if you have a printer already, then yeah, that's saving you a ton of money. You just have to put
Mhm.
them together. And I have a really good system on keeping all that loose leaf together. But the point
Yeah.
is, I started there. And to be honest, I loved it. Now, remember, my security background comes into play really well because I knew how to get up, get started, get chores done. We started
Yep.
school like really early. And because at the time I was getting up really early in my security job, I just naturally got the kids up when I was up. So we
Yeah.
started homeschooling at like 5 a.m. because I was like, well, I'm up.
Wow.
I can get you up. They were little. They were already
Yeah.
getting up early anyway,
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
little bodies. And at the time, since I only had three, it worked really well. We would get up, we would do homeschool for like literally like an hour, like maybe two, like if I was literally doing each one individually. And at that
Yeah,
time,
sure.
again, I have like a fourth grader, a second grader, and honestly, my third child wasn't even in school yet. She hadn't even hit kindergarten. So at that point, I was like, wow, this is really easy. The rest of the day, I realized, like, oh, we go to the park. Oh, I can go to the store. I can do other
Mhm.
things. I can hang with other families that have kids, my
Yeah.
children's age, and actually enjoy it. And it really opened my mind to understanding how much time I was kind of sacrificing for my dream job. And it
Mhm.
wasn't like that's a bad thing because I understand,
Yeah.
like, I've been a single parent and I've been married. You do need to support your children, like, and make sure they have food on the table, a roof over their head, clothes on their back.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, right.
important. But
Yeah.
also, if you had the option where we make
Mhm.
tweaks and sacrifices, it's a really great way to get that time with your children that
Yeah.
you never get again. Like,
Yeah, right.
my kids were in school, they would go to school. Then they would come home. I'd say, what did you learn today? And they would say, I don't remember. And so then I would spend
Mm.
2 hours every day reteaching them whatever homework that they brought home.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like,
I mean, that says a lot about the school system. Really. Wow.
I mean, and I will admit, in the grand scheme of like maybe school rankings, Vegas does not rank very high.
Mhm.
They have
Yeah.
been in a district which ranks higher. And so it was a
Sure.
bit different. And there was a little bit more emphasis on being able to read and other things. Like when my
Yeah.
daughter went to her first school, there was an emphasis on reading and she could read chapter books in kindergarten. When my daughter went to her charter school, they were concerned that she couldn't read at all. And I was like,
Wow.
that's such a big gap in
Yeah.
education
Hmm.
and what their view on what education should look like at a young age is.
Yeah. Hmm.
So then this all happened right before COVID. So
Mm.
I actually got the full-fledged homeschool like experience in
Yeah.
in the most healthiest ways right before COVID.
Hmm.
So then I
Yeah.
felt really bad because all these kids are now stuck at home. I was like so grateful to God because I said, "Oh, wow. My husband was working overnight full time.
Yeah.
I was pulling 16-hour shifts when I was working. If we had still been both working, one of us
Hmm.
would have had to quit anyway. And immediately
Yeah.
wouldn't have had a place for the girls to go during the school time, like we weren't
Hmm.
having daycare like during
Yeah.
the day. So then I was really grateful, but then I realized like there is a big gap in understanding on what homeschool really is and what
Hmm.
distance learning actually is
Yeah.
because
So
it's not
true.
what people think. Like I do think too much screen time, yes, not good.
Hmm.
But when you're using it like any tool the right way, it can be
Yeah.
very beneficial and it can open their world to things that they wouldn't normally see or experience right
Yeah.
there in their own home. And so that's what I
Hmm.
really loved was like being able to do that and have the time. So that's basically how I started. And I honestly
Amazing.
not deviated. I've been doing this for 8 years. I still use easy peasy all-in-one homeschool. The only
Hmm.
thing I've tweaked is I've added co-ops here and there when I've had the
Sure.
time, decided to. Usually
Hmm.
that is from classical conversations because I really love their
Yeah.
writing program, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I added just this year because the girls are in high school now with high school level math. I didn't like necessarily how the program they were using for math and easy peasy, just the high level,
Sure.
because it's teaching them multiple ways to do a problem when my kids really just needed one. So I added teaching textbooks for them. But that has been
Oh
my
yeah.
deviation.
That's great. That what an amazing journey and just how God led you to do that. And isn't that so hard though when you want to do something and God's like, "No, I'm leading you in this direction." That is such a hard lesson. Oh my word.
That
Oh,
obedience is better than
mm,
sacrifice.
yeah.
Ooh, that came into play with homeschooling. And I always tell
Yeah.
people like, they're like, oh, I could never. I'm like, I started in disobedience. I started because I was like, do you want to meet them in heaven? Because I don't know if like I'm cut out for this. Like I'm not the patient. I'm a very just type A personality. I'm very like, hey, we're gonna do it. This is how we do it. Now there is grace and love, and I think our house is
Sure.
very much full of love, but there's always a very good standard. And I wasn't going to
Yeah,
let their
sure.
education go to the wayside. I always tell parents, like, especially my homeschool one-on-ones, like, hey, I am not an unschooler mom. We do a
Hmm.
180-day curriculum. I don't skip days. We might skip a
Hmm.
project if, like, for instance, they've already done that in another,
Yeah,
like, in another co-op or something like that, but we do all
sure.
the work. And I think that's really important, like to understand, because I think there's like this new wave happening on, well, are the kids actually being educated? And I'm around people who are behind, but poor parenting is not going to disappear, whether it's in homeschool or public school, charter school, whatever educational path that people choose to take, you're always going to have parents that are not doing their best for
That's
their
right.
child. And
That's
so
right.
I don't want to start saying, well, all homeschool kids need this or that, or we need regulations. It's really about the parents. And I tell them that even
That's
if they
right.
don't homeschool, like
Hmm.
your child should be able to read, write, and do basic math. And if they can't do that, I don't care what educational choice you decide to go
Hmm.
down, that's on the parent. It was on me when my
Yeah.
daughter didn't know how to read and she's in kindergarten. I spent the summer hiring a tutor, paying for said
Hmm.
tutor. She learned how to read, write in cursive. She was a little bit behind when she started first grade, but she caught up by the time she got into second. And that
Yeah.
was on me. I didn't let the school just say, oh, it's whatever, it's
That's
fine.
right. That's right.
I
Hmm.
felt the burden of their education, the responsibility always fell on me as a parent. And I think a lot more parents are understanding like there's a bigger role that they need to play than what
Hmm.
maybe they've been given or presented with. Like just because someone said, hey, this is how you can do school doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I always
Mm,
want people to
yeah.
know that they have options. And homeschool is just that, it's an option. Like even
Hmm.
in the last few years, hybrid schools have become a really great kind of like middle ground between people who need a little bit of homeschool but
Yeah.
have a little bit of that time inside school. I don't do it
Hmm.
because I just love the freedom of homeschool. I like being done by noon because we
Yeah.
start at like 7 or 8. They get their chores done, they get dressed for the day, they start school. We're done by lunch. We eat lunch and we move on. So I don't want to be
Hmm.
beholden to a school schedule, but there's some
Yeah.
parents like they need that gap or they have a newborn or they have other things, you know.
Right.
So
100%.
I think it's important that there are a lot of different structures, but homeschool is to me the best way to do it when you can. If you have the ability to stay home and make that sacrifice financially and spend time with your children, do it because it goes so quick.
Yes.
Like my daughter is 16,
Yes.
about to start, she's driving now. She's about to start driving by herself. And in my head, she was just a baby. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it's it's
Yes.
it goes fast, and the
It
more
does.
I
Yeah.
feel like we sow into them, these years never come back. We have plenty of years
Mm,
where they're adults and they can, experience certain things and go to college and do other things. But this small amount of time where we're all together in a family unit
that's
is
right.
very short.
Mm-hmm.
And even for each
Mm-hmm.
kid, because it's really not 18 years when you think about it, because once one leaves, that time is that whole chapter is closed, where that person was living with all the rest of these tiny humans is gone. So
Yeah.
I really treasure it. I
Yeah.
think it means a lot. I think there's a lot of value there that people
Mm-hmm.
underestimate, like how much impact you have by just being in a room.
That's
And being
right.
in the room with your own child is such a powerful gift that you can give them and just showing their presence. Like children learn by just watching you. You don't even
Yeah.
have to be standing there learning. Like one of the questions my homeschool families asked me, they said, well, how do you turn it off? How do you, go from mommy to teacher? And I said, there's no such thing. I'm always home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are
Mm-hmm.
times where I teach them, but I don't stop teaching them. We might
That's
not be
right.
sitting at a desk, but yes, we have a turn off time of when we're sitting at our table writing, letters and words out. But they're still learning from me. They're learning how to regulate
Mm-hmm.
their emotions, they're learning how to be in the world, they're learning how to communicate, they're learning how I from how I do that around other people too,
That's
without
right.
saying a word to them, this is how we do this. And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's such a great gift in being home with them.
Yes, I love that so much. And then to kind of transition a little bit and talk about your homeschool coaching, I know you said you do in-person homeschooling 101 sessions. How did you kind of start coaching and where did that kind of come from?
You know what's really interesting is I never wanted to coach. I want to coach people, but it just kept happening like naturally. What
Mhm.
was happening
Yeah.
was every time I would go somewhere, because I have six children. I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old who's about to be five, a 6-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old. They were
Hmm.
like, how in the world are you homeschooling? Like the question just kept getting asked by people. And then
Hmm.
it became, I would go to the library, and because I spent a lot of time at the library using them as a resource for research projects, obviously books. When we
Yeah.
moved to our house, we live on the country, we had to get Wi-Fi in the house. So before we got the Wi-Fi, we would use the library, write down our
Yeah.
sh- and because they knew I homeschooled, they would refer people who were curious about homeschooling to me.
Oh,
So I would
wow.
spend like, an hour, 2 hours talking to people about all things homeschool, their options, kind of helping them troubleshoot what a day would look like and overcoming some of those, what I call homeschool myths or fears that people have surrounding
Hmm.
homeschool, to give
Yeah.
them the best picture on whether that would work for them or not. And
Yeah.
because it kept happening, I was like, okay, like I can't have people, calling me from Alabama, asking me how to homeschool. I was like, I need to start charging because, again, my time away from my kids is important to me,
That's
but
right.
so that's
Yeah.
basically how it started, was just giving people something that was a little more tailored to them, because you can tell anyone on Instagram or on any social media can say, hey, this is how you homeschool. But that
Yeah.
might not work for them personally. Like what's going on in your life?
Hmm.
What's going on with your family? Like what's going on with, where your kids are right now? Are they actually at grade level or not? Because that does
Yeah.
matter. Just saying, we'll just start homeschooling where they're graded. If they're not, then hey, you need to backtrack. You do need them to have some
Hmm.
basic skills before you throw them into
Yeah.
homeschooling, and you can catch up. Here's some tools that if you don't know how to teach something, you can hire a tutor. Sometimes there's free ones at the library. It's really kind of helping people troubleshoot those problems on a personal level so that they don't
Yeah.
have those mental blocks.
Hmm. Hmm. I love that so much. And then if somebody is interested in your coaching, where can they find, do you have a website or your Instagram?
Yeah, honestly, it's my Homeschool 101 Jumpstart, basically. It's on my IG, it's in my links. And so it's just
Great.
really simple. I don't honestly like push it because to me, like, I want to teach people how to fish so they can fish for themselves. So if you need that,
Mm.
I'm there. But I give so much away on my page. So it's really more about that. Like, I want people to be proactive because at the end of the day, again, parental responsibility. So if you're not
Mhm.
willing to, put the time in to like
Yeah,
look at a video, click on a link, I don't need to sell you, like you should want to invest in that, because the person
that's
who's
right. I
teaching
love
your
that.
child is you.
Mhm.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to be doing that, and you
Yeah.
can't call me every day asking me, how do I do this? And that? Like, we're going to set it up. We're going to set you up for success. Make sure it passes your state regulations because every state is different. There's a couple states that
Mhm.
kind of don't. I'm a little hands off, but there are some great Facebook groups too with homeschooling parents that are all over the country that I usually like kind of push people to, like say, hey, find a local group, find a co-op near you, find people
Yep.
who live there and have been doing this, because at the end of the day, I live in North Carolina. So my more specific things when it comes to state requirements, I'm going to be more well versed with where I live between here and honestly Nevada, because that's the where I've done the most. But there's other people where if you've been doing it in Texas, you've been doing it in California or Florida, and there's some places where it's a little bit harder, like Oregon or Washington, then we
Yeah.
need to get you hooked up with someone who can really help you. But yeah, it's on my page. If people want that, they can always
Sure.
book a call and I will help them.
That's great. And then I know you have your own business. I believe you flip houses. So how do you juggle homeschooling and working?
You know what's interesting is I'm really grateful for my husband. I feel like the Lord was very good about putting us together, because he always says
Mm.
we're like gears. We really do function so well together as a team. So he
Mm.
does commercial HVAC, so he's gone like sometimes half the month on these jobs. Sometimes they're in state, sometimes they're out of state. And
Hmm.
so he's working hard to make sure that the bills get paid. Now, what I
Yeah.
do is I say, hey, I've been kind of an entrepreneur on and off. So one of the things I didn't mention was in between my jobs with security and things like that, I ran in-home daycare because I wanted to be able to nurse my babies when they were small.
Hmm.
And because
Hmm.
again, I was a single parent, I was like, well, I still need to make money even though I'm going to be home with this baby. So I
Yeah.
would do daycare. It was a way for me to be home with them. I still got to nurse baby. And then when I felt like, okay, I need to get back in, usually it'd be like, I think the shortest time was like 9 months. I would be doing daycare all the way through. And
Hmm.
so it worked really well, but it showed me like if you have a good service, like you can make good money because
Hmm.
as
That's
long as
right.
you're doing your part. I always said my care was clean, safe, and reliable. And so
Hmm.
that kind of mindset carried me through. I had always watched, the HGTV, Chip and Joanna Gaines. Like, my
Hmm.
husband's always like, we're not Chip and Joanna. I was like, he's right, though. He is right. We are not Chip and Joanna, but I am Joanna and
I
Chip. And
love that.
I'll hire a Chip to help with the Joanna. So he's
That's
working.
great.
And then what I do is I've been able to do a couple things. So we have a couple rental properties. We have had them for a little bit. They're just long-term rentals where we have tenants in them. And then I really wanted to get into the mobile home side because what I realized really
Sure.
quickly was trying to drop money on single family homes. That could be like 20 to 30, 50 grand every single time
Hmm.
put down on a down
Yeah.
payment to get into
Yeah.
housing. Well, then you're saving up money to do it all over again. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how are we supposed to be saving money with 6 kids and coming up? It took us a
Hmm.
while just to come up with this amount of money. How are we then going to duplicate this unless we just save
Yeah.
every single penny from the rentals? I'm like, that doesn't seem like the timeline that I want. So I was
Hmm.
like, there's got to be a way to do this cheaper in a way that helps more people with affordable housing. And mobile homes
Hmm.
was the answer for me. Now, obviously, everywhere doesn't have, a big mobile home, area where that's more accessible to
Yeah,
them.
sure.
I live in North Carolina, so it is. So I said, well, I'm
Hmm.
going to get into mobile homes. So I did. I basically figured out how to take a course on it and started saying, I'm going to sell those. So originally I was the middleman, and I still kind of am, to be honest. And I kind of do it my own way. I found a park owner who would work with me. And basically, when she has something ready to sell, I am the middleman. So think of me like a real estate,
Awesome.
but not because there's not really such a thing in mobile homes. And I go in and say, all right, I'm going to upcharge. I upcharge on the client end to say when they want
So
to buy
cool.
it, they pay my fee. She gets it sold for what she wants it sold for. I make sure the whole process is smooth and then everyone's happy. They get to move into the home that they want. The owner gets their lot rent, and I get paid. So I did that
That's
a couple of
awesome.
times, and then now I'm in my flip. So hopefully I will be done, but in literally 2 weeks with this flip. It's my first one
Awesome.
with a mobile home, and I'm hoping to make a pretty penny. So we will be looking for that. But I mean, my numbers are really simple. Like I try to buy low. So with this one, when I'm the middleman, I probably make $2,000 to $3,000. But again, that's just my work of posting, doing showings, and having someone buy it. So I
Yeah,
do all that within a month.
that's
So
awesome.
that's how that runs. And then the flip, it's taken me a few months to do that, but I got it for 2000. I'm probably in it right now for like 10 or 12,000, and I'm thinking I might be able to sell it. I mean, high end, maybe 40. So
Yeah.
my return will be good, which is nice, which is what I want. So that's where I like the
Yeah.
coolness of it. So I always tell people like if you want to do it, like go with that because your returns are
Yeah,
fast
sure.
here. And like I like working with the park owner versus individual sellers because I can get really confusing. Now, obviously,
Mm.
I'm doing this while I'm homeschooling. So the key is organization. I don't work 24 hours a day. It's another reason why I won't get my real estate agent's license. Because again, I don't want to give up the time. I said it
That's
before and I'll
right.
say it again. The time for me is the most important thing. And honestly, this is just a means to an end. I'm using this in order to build up funds to buy a business to where that is going to run absentee. So I don't need to be
Yeah.
there to run it. My husband doesn't need to be there to run it, but we need the funds. So again, I'm not going to stay in this for forever either. It's just a way to get from point A to point B, and it gives me a lot of flexibility. I don't work every day. A lot of my stuff can be handled right on my phone. Hey, calling the
Mm-hmm.
contractor, making sure he's doing what he's doing. They have the key, like they have the code to the lockbox so they can let themselves in and out. I go in and
Yep.
check. Everybody gets paid when the work is done the way I asked them. And it's a pretty seamless thing. I mean, there are hiccups like the windows. The windows I got were the wrong size, had to return them, go with a different vendor, get the right
Sure.
size windows. But it's really seamless because I can take my kids with me. So when I go to the house,
Mm.
and I'm cleaning the house, yeah, they work with me. They've helped me clean the
Mm-hmm.
house. They've helped me paint sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The littles have run around in the yard just being children and chasing butterflies while I'm doing that. And the other one watches them because I'm like, great, I have two helpers and then I have
Yeah.
two littles and one watching a little. I got about an hour, 2 hours in, before they get too, rambunctious. And it's just
Yeah.
planning. We got to do your homeschool first and do that. Or it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, now that it's a little different with a 16-year-old, if she has time, it's like, great, you can watch them for 2 hours while I go run to the house, check in
Yeah,
the
right.
make sure they have supplies, and come back. But
Mm-hmm.
everyone doesn't have that dynamic. And that's where I always try to tell parents, like, when you're just starting out, don't think you can do it all at once. And if you are,
That's right.
there are sacrifices that you're going to make. Like, you can't
Mm-hmm.
do it. If you have a bunch of littles under 5, you're not going to be able to run how I'm running now. And I didn't run how I was running now when I had 3, 5, and under.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there is a difference in like seasons and, making sure that you're not sacrificing the things that are the most important to you. The most important thing to me isn't making money. Now, do I make money? Yes, but I don't run myself into the ground. I did,
Yeah. So important.
real estate, the two real estate properties we probably got 2 or 3 years ago. I did
Mm-hmm.
my first, we waited a whole year after that. And then last year was the first time I sold 2 mobile homes. Fast forward to this year, I'm doing the flip and then I'm about to sell another one. So I'm
Awesome.
moving slow and steady because that's the way to
Yeah.
be stressed out. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes
Yeah.
take the day off. And I think a lot of people think that there's failure in that. And there's no failing in this. Like, there's just
Mm-hmm.
learning. There's learning what worked, what didn't work. It's, as simple as,
Yeah.
hey, don't take the kids to do stuff if they haven't eaten lunch.
That's right. That's
Bring
right.
snacks, and wherever you
Yeah.
go, make sure there's a working toilet. So because they're inevitably gonna need to go to the bathroom. But again, if I'm, working on a flip and the toilet doesn't,
Yeah.
that's a thing. It's things you have to think about when you're trying to do
Yeah. Problem
things
solving.
together all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my follow-up question. Do your kids get to see the business side of what you do? I mean, obviously they help you with the painting and the cleaning and things like that, but then do they also get to see, how you problem solve, how you organize? Do they get to see that side of things as well?
Well, I am a big proponent of not like hiding conversations with them. I grew up
Mm-hmm.
in a family that did not really talk about money, didn't talk about business. Like, it was one of those, like, things are happening, but you're never involved. And so there's this huge like gray darkness on like how anything got bought or done. And
Yeah.
so talking about credit or how that was important or how to get money. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want that for them. Financial literacy is a huge, huge area that I think is missing in education, whether it's
Yeah.
homeschool, public school, hybrid school, charter schools, private school.
Yeah.
We need more of that. And we're very specific with that with our children. So they do
That's
listen to
great.
me talk to contractors on the phone. They are there in person when I'm troubleshooting, like, this didn't work. What do we need to do about the electrical? Because the fan is blowing every time we turn on. How much money is it going to cost? We've had
Mm-hmm.
discussions with them and said, hey, what is it that you want to do this year? Great. Well, this is how much it's going to cost us to do the flip. So I'm not saying no to leaving the country. I'm saying yes to, we need to finish this flip and then we can start making moves towards that, but it won't be right now.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we do stuff like implementing the rat race from Robert Kiyosaki. Like, that's such a great game for kids. I love that game because it just shows them a way to think outside of the box. It's not just about
Yeah.
getting a degree or going and getting a job. It's about saying what is going to work for you and benefit your life
Mm-hmm.
in the best ways possible and give you what you want. So I had to
Yeah.
have a conversation, for instance, with my oldest daughter. She's 16. We were seriously considering dual enrolling her in college, which she can do. She's got the grades. We have,
Yep.
the setup for it with the school and everything. But here's the point. She doesn't want to do it. She does not want to go to college. So I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
thinking, like, I have
Mm-hmm.
two options. I have two options in my mind. She might have other options, but she has, you can go to school, get the piece of paper to say you have the piece of paper so you can graduate
Yep.
early and have 2 degrees, two diplomas, one from college, one from high school. Or you can build a business where none of that even matters because you're making money
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
I was like, well, here's the deal. We were going to go here, but why would I waste my energy and
Yep.
time trying to do this with you when I know that you at the end of the day don't even want to do this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I said, okay. What's going to give me the most flexibility? What's going to be give me the most time with my kid?
100%.
What's going to be the thing that's going to benefit her no matter what? Well, she's
Mhm.
still going to have money at the end of the day, which obviously benefits
Yeah.
her, and it saves me some money from paying for stuff. So I said, we're going to build a business. So instead of her starting in the fall, dual enrolling, we're going to build a business. Now, will that happen for every single child? I don't think so. I think there will be some that will want school. I think
Sure.
there will be some that want to be like their dad and go to trade school, because he does HVAC. But for this
Hmm.
particular child, this is the route that we're exploring now. And I think that's
Hmm.
really important is that if your children don't see you do things, how will they know? Because I'm
Yeah.
self-taught in credit repair. I'm self-taught in building a business and doing certain things. I didn't have people showing me what that looked like. In fact, when I wanted to do the mobile homes and flip them and invest in them, everyone told me it was impossible and you couldn't do it. Everyone told me, real estate agents told me, people in finance told me, all these people until I got around people who were already doing it. That's when,
Yeah.
oh, well, like, oh, that's possible. But
That's right.
it's important to just always keep your mind open and show your
Hmm.
kid as much as possible. But even as adults, I think it's important that we do that. Like, we never should stop learning. There's always something you don't know.
Mm.
And even if it doesn't benefit you now, it might benefit someone you know. It might be a network
Yeah.
opportunity. It might come way down the line, a year, 2 years from now. You have no idea. But being in the room sometimes is the most powerful decision that you can make, even if you don't see
100%.
how it's going to help you. Like, I always tell people, like, just be kind. Being kind has gotten me into rooms and in spaces with people that I have never imagined. It got people to say yes to me that I've said no to others, all because I was kind and because I showed up. And I
Yep.
think it's important that that's one of the things I teach our kids is like, you need to do the best that you can do and you need to think outside the box. Like, we have
Yeah.
AI now, we have ChatGPT, we have Grok, all these different things. I don't need them to learn how to do 2 times 2. Now, should they know it? Yes. But is that the most important thing? No. I need you to know how to get the answer. And I also need you to know, like, as a decent human person, to do all the things that that thing can't do. It can't go to
Hmm.
a networking event
That's
and
right.
and make connections with people for you.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a skill you need to be able to have and to learn. It can't tell you,
Hmm.
it can make you a budget, but who's going to follow the budget? You
Yeah.
have to have the self-discipline. You have to know
Yeah.
what your numbers are. Like, it's amazing to me how many people don't know simple things I think surrounding like everyday life. And I think that's one thing that homeschool really sheds light on. Like, do
Yes.
you know how your kids are spending
Hmm.
their time? Do you know who their friends are? Do
Yeah.
they have simple skills? Can they get up, wash their hands, get themselves dressed, make themselves
Yep.
breakfast, do their
100%.
schoolwork? Do they have a standard? Is it just constantly a free fall? Is there no
Hmm.
schedule? There's no
Hmm.
consistency. And I think that's the part of homeschooling that really is hard, I think, sometimes when you've been in a situation where everything is created for you. You know what time your kid's supposed to be there. You know when they're supposed to eat lunch.
Yeah.
All these things. They provide it for you because you pay for it. Like, all these different things is done. Homeschooling is not that. Homeschooling is saying, I'm taking the responsibility of that in all of the things in everyday life. I'm going to teach you what it looks like to be a good human.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you the tools so that you can mature in that and you can then teach others. Because it's the
Mm.
one thing to teach your kid, but if your kid can't teach someone else, did they learn it? Like, that's how I view
Yeah.
all of our kids. My older kids help with their younger siblings, not in a you owe me kind of way, but in a I taught you. I want to see that you know enough that you can teach someone else.
Hmm.
And then we can start delegating because we're a
Yeah.
as a team, I don't do everything. I don't clean my entire house by myself. My children have chores. And then
Hmm.
I do the things that I feel like either I don't want them to do, or I think that sometimes I do better. But overall, everyone needs to help, down to the 2 year old. You can
Yeah.
make your own toys. I think that teaches so much when we give them a
Yes.
standard and responsibilities that helps them grow and
Hmm.
mature and it helps them just be more well-rounded. But I'm sorry, I got a little off on a tangent.
No, no, I love it. That's actually, you covered the next question I was going to ask about life skills. So I really like that you do that. And I think that's something my parents taught me when I was homeschooled, like how to make my bed, how to do my own laundry, how to unload the dishwasher. Even those simple things, I think they give you like a well-rounded confidence. Like, oh, I might not know how to do something, but I know I can figure it out because I figured these other things out from a young age. So I love that you do that with your kids. That's so important. So
Well,
important.
I think it was really funny because my mom was really strict. All of my family members were, like, all my parents were basically military or in security.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
because of that, there's a certain way, like, you fold laundry, you do chores,
Yep.
you think there's a little
Yep.
bit more of that strictness there, which I
Hmm.
kind of appreciated because I realized that not everybody had that. And I think
Yeah.
it really made me more independent. Like, I grew up with a lot of siblings, but because they didn't live with me, I was alone a lot, but it taught me independence and how I could stand on my own two
Mm-hmm.
feet. And
Mm-hmm.
like I would come home from school, let myself in. I was a latchkey kid at like third grade or something like that, third or
Mm-hmm.
fourth grade. I would make my dinner. I would do my homework by myself till my parents got home for like 3 or 4 hours. Like nowadays, that
Yeah.
would be crazy. And honestly, I would not leave my kids for that long. I personally don't do that. But
Yeah, I
it
understand.
taught me something personally. And I
Yeah, I
remember
understand.
it
Mm-hmm.
coming, like to your point, in handy so much when I went to flight attendant school. So one of the things that I tried, like when I was really young,
That's
before my
awesome.
daughter was, I was going to go to flight attendant school. I went to this hospitality school all the way over in Vancouver, Washington. Never been outside of home before. I'm in now this like dorm kind of like apartment building where it's like a dorm. There's like two girls to a room, and I'm getting these new roommates. This new girl comes in. She's even younger than me, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it felt like I was older, even though I was only 18, because she had no life skills. Here's the
Yeah.
prime example where I realized, like, okay, I'm not the same as maybe someone who hasn't learned these skills and why they're so important. I come in the house smells, it reeks. I mean, to high heaven. I'm like, what is that smell? I start cleaning everything in the house. I start cleaning the bathrooms. I start like going in the living room. I realize it's coming from the kitchen. I take out the trash. I'm going through all this stuff, the fridge. I'm like, what is the smell? I cannot figure it out. Eventually, I'm like, well, I have to figure it out. I keep going all day long for like 2 hours. I go in the cabinet. It could have been longer than that because I was cleaning everything. And I realized there is a big, like, one of those big, like 5 pound things of meat sitting in the cabinet. And I was like, what is this here? And so we had two different shifts. We
Goodness.
had morning classes and night classes. She was in night class. So I started asking the more girls, did you do that? Like, we didn't do it. So I asked the night class girls, and the one girl was like, oh, that was me. And I was like, why did you put it in the cabinet? And she was like, oh, because I thought that's where it goes. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, yeah, like, I was like, have you never cooked food? She's like, no, my parents cook for me and they put stuff away. I was like, you know, this has to go in the fridge though. Like, she's like, really? And I was like, she literally had no idea that meat
Wow.
that was raw had to go into the freezer or the fridge. And that's when I realized I was like, they would always call me like, you're like a little mom. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm 18. And I'm thinking to myself, that's wild. Like that you don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to cook. They didn't know how to like wipe a sink down. I mean, she didn't even know how to put like the meat away. So I mean, this is like that was the moment that I
Wow.
said my children will not have that level of ignorance
Hmm.
and being inept. And it's not because she wasn't smart. I mean, she's in a hospitality school. It's
Right,
because she was
100%.
not shown how to do it and given the right
Hmm.
tools. Like her basically her parents like you could tell they just dropped off and were like, good luck, we're tired. Like of raising you. But I'm like, that was your responsibility. Don't expect the world to try and
Yes.
educate your child.
Yes.
And I never want my kids to be incapable in the world when they are so
Hmm.
smart. Every kid is a genius. I remember seeing such a really amazing like Instagram reel on that. It was like they went and did this study. Someone went and did a study on children, and they were all geniuses. And then as they stayed in school, they started to lose so much of their
I think
genius.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And it was so profound to me, but I understood because I'm like, if you don't
Foster that.
nurture and
Yeah.
foster curiosity and
Hmm.
responsibility and accountability, this is what it looks like. And because I was
Hmm.
a correctional officer, I was like, I never want to see my kid never taking accountability for the things that they've done wrong or not understanding the word.
Mm.
Everything is not a negotiation in parenting and in homeschool. I tell homeschool parents, you know what? They're not going to want to do it every day. It's your job
Yeah.
to foster how it looks for them to be able to do it in a way that you're not both crying. Like,
Hmm.
you need to be
Yeah.
able to work with them. So, like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be stressful. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, I have boys now. It's a very different thing with my older set. We always say, like, we have the two sets of kids. We got the older kids and then we got the littles. And
Hmm.
because my 6 and about to be 5-year-old are boys, they learn completely different. I mean, boys and girls already learn differently, but they
Yeah.
really like, and it's important
Hmm.
that they don't lose that spark because I can see how smart they are and how much they
Mm.
love learning about animals, can tell you facts that I can't even remember about animals. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
learning to read. And so it's like, that is the part where I'm like, great, we can work on reading, you can work in the homeschool space, but the interpersonal skills that people
Yes.
don't have right now, that is a really easy thing to gain
Hmm.
in homeschool because you're with them so much.
Yes, I love that so much. And then to kind of transition a little bit, I mean, we already kind of covered this a little bit, but what skills as a homeschool mom, what skills do you think it takes to run a business and then also homeschool?
I mean, I would definitely, I mean, on a practical sense, multitasking.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
actually like be able to balance many things at once
Hmm.
and then just be okay with everything not being done. Like you just have to
That's so
just be
important.
okay with living in that moment
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
making those choices like and having to make hard choices. Like, okay, for instance, I have an important work meeting I want to be at, but my daughter just threw up because she has a stomach bug.
Hmm.
What's the most important?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I want to be in that meeting, but my daughter's sick, so I'm not gonna be able to make this meeting. So we're gonna have to reschedule. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take my daughter. And I think just knowing what your priorities are off rip. Like I don't think anyone should start a business unless they know exactly why they're starting the business, what they're
Yeah.
willing to put into it and commit to it, and what's the goal at the end. Like the goal can't just be
Hmm.
make money. Like how much money are we talking? Why are we doing this to begin with? Is there another way for you to do this without you doing it this way? And what are you willing to sacrifice to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. I think if you're gonna do it with a family, like I have 6 kids, I'm doing it with them. Be very clear on what you want and the boundaries that you have. People will try
Yeah.
to run over your boundaries and text you at 12 a.m. Don't text them back. I mean, you can
Yeah.
text them back if you want, but I'm not texting them back because I don't want that kind of
Yeah.
energy around me. I don't want people to think that they have unlimited access to me whenever they
Yeah.
want. Like
Hmm.
I want to be able to like I actually do go to sleep. I actually do have a family. I have times where I'm not
Hmm.
available because it's my kid's birthday party. And I think that's everyone has to know what's right for them. Like that's if you want to run 100 miles an hour, great, but someone does have to be with your kids. Like we all know
Yes.
this. And if that's not going to be you, then make sure you set them up for success in the best way possible.
Yeah, I love that so much. And then to kind of transition a little bit, why do you believe or do you believe the socialization argument is a myth?
This is my number one question in all of my homeschool 101 is, but what about socialization? And I'm like, I'm going to tell you exactly what I tell everyone. Your kids are going to be just as weird as you let them. That's the truth. That
That's
is
good.
the ultimate
Yep.
truth. If you hide your kids away and you never take them around people and you keep them in the house, yeah,
Hmm.
they're gonna be weird. In fact, that's
Hmm.
that's what we call segregation in the prison. We call that seg. You're alone. You're not allowed to talk to people. You're by yourself. And those kids,
Yeah.
they got it. It literally causes mental health issues. And so to me, if you don't want your kids to be weird, you want them to be social, you facilitate that. You can take them to the
Hmm.
park as much as you want. You can take them to
Yeah.
co-ops as much as you want. You can take them and put them in social settings as much as you want. I always tell people there
Yep.
are free events you can use using the library
Oh, yeah.
doing community events, volunteering.
Hmm.
My daughters have done so many things. We just did a farmer's market this past Saturday. They were doing fairy hair and face painting, and then my
So
11-year-old was doing
fun.
the little fake tattoos. And I'm like, it's a way for them to meet a bunch of different people they've never met, a bunch of
Hmm.
adults, they did kids. I'm like, your kids are going to turn out in the environment that you create for them. I don't
Yeah.
let them not grow in that space. So when they're
Yeah.
nervous, because I have some that are a little more introverted and less extrovert. I have some that would just they're gonna talk to you no matter what. Like it doesn't matter what's going on, they're gonna talk to you. And then I have some that would rather hide behind me than have to say hello to someone. And I
Yeah.
just keep facilitating opportunities for them to grow in that. And
So
I don't
important.
allow that kind of behavior. I want them to be able to know, like, yes, we have strangers, but we also do want to show respect to people and try to be kind if we can. I
Yeah.
don't expect them to talk to everyone who speaks to them because, again, stranger danger. But I do, like, for people who
Sure.
know, want them to be social and have the right skills. Because, again, AI can't do that for you. It cannot go into a room of people and
Hmm.
speak for you. And I
That's
think
right.
it's a huge misconception that they have to be weird. I'm like, they can, my kids are like me. So they're very social. They're very outgoing. They're very
Yeah.
sweet. They have a great reputation in our community of just being thoughtful, kind, well-spoken,
Mm.
but very
Love that.
diligent. And I think that is something that you train. It's not a gift.
Yes.
And I don't think, to be honest, it's a given in public school either, because you wouldn't have, like a weird emo kid if all you needed was public school. Like, oh, well, they have all the people right there. So what's the difference? You wouldn't have bullying
Mhm.
if all you needed was other kids. Like, it's
Yeah.
clearly not about how many kids are around other people.
Yeah.
It's more about the environment and what you're facilitating for them.
Yeah. I really like that. And then I think a lot of families get, like you said in the beginning, you got overwhelmed. How do you suggest families simplify homeschooling and make it less overwhelming?
Stop buying stuff you think is fun. I feel
Yes.
like the first thing I did was like go to this homeschool swap that I got invited to, and it was like a bajillion items to buy. And I was like, oh, we might need this. We might need take a step back. And before
Mm-hmm.
you buy anything, figure out what you actually need. Because I can guarantee you what I tell people to start with my homeschooling one, you only need a couple things. You need a composition notebook, a pencil that has an eraser, maybe a separate eraser. You need crayons or markers and a pencil box to keep it all in and a sharpener.
Yep.
That's it. Now, you have the option to, like I said, print the papers or do the workbooks. But I always push people towards easy peasy because it is easy to do. We're not talking thousands of dollars because it's free.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you everything in a list of supplies in the beginning, which usually, if you want to do the experiments, you can. Otherwise, you can watch them or you can join a co-op where they'll do them there.
Yep.
Everything is laid out. I don't want people to get so caught up in feeling like they don't have certain things financially to start homeschooling. That should
Sure.
not be the barrier to people. If you can't do the
Hmm.
experiment because it's a financial issue, watch it online. There's so many
Yep.
ways to skin this cat. And then just keep, excuse me, documentation of what they've done. I like the composition notebook, so whenever they need to write anything from
Yeah.
that day, they write it in there. If they need a piece of paper that they need to have, like say that it's not in the workbook and they have things that they cut out, it goes in there. So everything's
Mhm.
in one place.
Yeah.
108 days worth of work in one notebook. You can't lose it. It's not loose leaf. I
That's
hate loose
right.
leaf. I know someone's gonna be sad, but I don't like loose leaf because you know what my kids
Yeah.
do? They lose it and they rip it out and it's somewhere else. And I'm like, where is your paper? Doesn't happen in a composition notebook. You can
Yep.
get all that stuff at the Dollar Tree. You know, I was kind of like building like an Amazon storefront, and I'm thinking to myself, they really could just buy this at the
Mm-hmm.
Dollar Tree. Like, if it's a financial thing,
Mm-hmm.
you can find it at the Dollar Tree,
Yeah.
call it a day. If you want the fancy stuff, sure, get it there. Get your fancy clay
Yep.
and all their other stuff. Otherwise, Dollar Tree is where it's at.
That's right. That's right. And then, why do you believe in homeschooling?
Oh,
That's a
that is
loaded question, I know.
yeah, that is such a hard question to answer in one sentence because homeschool has given me so much.
Mm,
It
yeah.
has given me time. It
Mm-hmm.
has given me patience and joy.
Mm-hmm.
It has, as much as it's grown my children, it has shaped and molded me in ways that I would have never imagined, even
Yeah.
already being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Homeschooling and the experience I feel like around it really sheds light on you as a person
Yes.
more than
Yes, I love that.
anything else. It has shown me areas where I can improve, where I'm really, really amazing at, and where I'm like, that could use a little more work. And I'm so grateful because I have so much freedom in my
Yes.
day and how I
Mm-hmm.
raise my children. I've always beat to my own drum. And so it really does come down to that, like, I get a lot of freedom in being able to say yes to things, no to things, to
Yeah.
experience things on a different way. Like, how can you do a random beach trip for 2 weeks in the middle of the school year
Mm-hmm.
unless you're homeschooling? I mean, you can try
Yeah.
to take the days off, but the time is still going. Like, I can take off time
Yeah.
whenever I want if a kid is
Mm-hmm.
sick, if Cameron, my husband, is off randomly. Like, and it honestly has made them such better people. One of the things that
Yeah.
people don't account for is that when you're not with your child all the time, and like, let's say you do have a really great home life, they're bringing home everything, all those emotions, all the things that they
Yeah.
used to bottle up and all those things. My kids are just way better people and nicer humans since I started homeschooling. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, what's the one? I mean, there's a million reasons why I love it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's given me the time, it's given me the closeness. I mean, I have teenagers who, yes, they have the teenage moments, but who will still want to cuddle in the bed with me. Like they're like, I love you,
Mm-hmm.
Mom. Can we have girl time? Can we do this? Like parents,
Yeah.
I know there are parents who would beg for their kid just to talk to them. but
Hmm.
it comes with sowing those seeds of time and really digging into like their thought
Yeah.
process on things and having those conversations. And I don't see how you can do it if you're at
You're
work
at work.
8 hours a day, your kids at school
Yeah.
8 hours a day, and then you're rushing to pick them up, you're rushing to do dinner, you're doing all things. That didn't leave me any time with them. And I know what it's like because I did it and I did it for years. You don't have time to talk to them about their day, whether except for like maybe 15 minutes. And you can't get deep because everybody's got to eat. They got to get brush their teeth. They got to get in the
Yep.
shower. They got to go to bed if they haven't already done their homework and then do that. And then we have to start all over.
Yep. It's a
You know,
rat race. Yeah.
it's really hard. And I don't envy people who that's their only option. Homeschool
Mhm.
is the quickest I feel like point from A to B and getting that quality time and freedom
Yeah.
to really just live life. Whether you want it
Yes.
fast or you want it slow, you're going to get to choose what it looks like.
I love that. And then just to kind of wrap up, since we're coming up on an hour,
Oh,
where
yeah.
can people find you? Feel free to share your Instagram and everything like that.
Yeah, well, you can find me at Big Family Investing on IG and TikTok. Um, That's where I post all of my content on homeschooling. Again, if people want the 1 hour jump start, the link is in my bio there if they want that. But I post daily on just my thoughts about homeschool, things that I've used. A lot of times I'll go through, a span of a week on just giving like actual information on what it looks like,
Sure.
dispelling myths like socialization or how long it takes and all these different things to put people at ease and say, like, hey, you can do it. My goal
Mm-hmm.
has always been like, I just want to give out the information. I don't want people to be confused or frustrated or have mental
Yeah.
blocks about it. If you want to do something different and make a different choice, I want to show you exactly how you can do that in the easiest way possible. And so, yeah, they can just follow me at Big Family Investing with an ING, and I'm always doing stuff on there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was a great conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated that.
Of course.